All right, guys, today we're talking onions. These little beauties are a staple in kitchens around the world, and for good reason. They're versatile, packed with flavor, and once you get the hang of it, growing them is a piece of cake. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, I'm going to walk you through my top tips for getting the best onion harvest you've ever had. Let's get to work. Right, first things first, you've got to pick the right onion for the job. It's like choosing the right tool for the job. There are loads of different varieties out there, and they all have different strengths. Some are better suited to cooler climates, others thrive in the heat. Think about your local climate, the amount of sunlight your garden gets, and the type of soil you have. Do a bit of research. Ask at your local garden center. They're brilliant, and choose a variety that's going to be happy in your neck of the woods. Trust me, it makes a world of difference. Now, you've got two main types, short day and long day onions. Short day onions, they're your go-to if you live in the southern states, where the days are shorter during the growing season. Long day onions, they're perfect for you folks up north, where those summer days just stretch on forever. And then you've got your red onions, your white onions, your yellow onions, each with their own unique flavor profile. Red onions, they're a bit sharper, great for salads and salsas. White onions, they're a bit milder, perfect for dicing up and using in sauces. Yellow onions, they're the all-rounders, brilliant for cooking just about anything. Now, before you even think about popping those onions in the ground, we got to give them a good foundation. Onions, they love a good, loose, well-drained soil. So get your hands dirty and dig in some organic matter like compost or well-rotted manure. This is going to add nutrients, improve drainage, and give those roots something to really grab onto. And don't forget about the pH onions. They prefer a slightly acidic soil, somewhere around 6 to 6.8. You can test your soil with a simple kit from the garden center. If it's a bit too alkaline, you can add some sulfur to bring it down. Once you've got the soil sorted, give it a good rake, breaking up any big clumps and leveling it out. You want a nice, smooth surface for those onions to sit on. This is all about giving those onions the best possible start in life. A bit of effort now is going to pay off big time when you're harvesting those big, juicy onions later on. Okay, let's get these onions in the ground. Now, we're not talking about burying them deep down here. You just want the tips of those sets or seedlings peeking out above the soil. About an inch or so deep is perfect. Spacing is key too. Give those onions room to breathe. I like to plant mine about 4 to 6 inches apart. This gives them plenty of space to spread out and grow big and strong. Now, if you're planting onion sets, which are basically little baby onions, make sure the root end is pointing downwards. That seems obvious, but trust me, it's easy to get mixed up in the heat of the moment. If you're using seedlings, gently tease them out of their pots, being careful not to damage the roots. Pop them in their little holes, firm the soil around them, and give them a good watering in. Onions, they're thirsty little fellas, especially when they're first getting established. So make sure you give them a good drink regularly, especially during dry spells. But here's the thing, you don't want to drown them. Soggy soil can lead to rot and disease. So aim for consistently moist soil, but not waterlogged. A good way to check is to stick your finger about an inch into the soil. If it feels dry, give them a good watering. If it feels damp, you're all good. And here's a little tip water in the morning whenever you can. This gives the foliage time to dry out during the day, which helps prevent fungal diseases. Now, to help those onions grow big and strong, we got to give them a bit of a boost. A balanced fertilizer, something with equal parts nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, is just the ticket. Give them a feed a few weeks after planting, and then again every month or so throughout the growing season. You can either sprinkle granular fertilizer around the base of the plants, or use a liquid feed. Just be careful not to over-fertilize. It can do more harm than good. If you're not sure, it's always best to err on the side of caution. And remember, healthy soil means healthy plants. So keep adding that compost or manure throughout the season to keep those nutrient levels topped up. Weeds, they're the enemy. They'll steal all the nutrients and water that your onions need, leaving them weak and stunted. So we got to keep those weeds under control. The best way to do this is to hoe regularly, chopping off those weeds at the base before they have a chance to take hold. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and pull out any stubborn ones by hand. You can also use a mulch, like straw or wood chips, to help suppress weeds. And if you're really struggling, you can use a weed killer, but always choose a selective one that won't harm your onions. Just remember, a little bit of effort on the weeding front goes a long way. Now, unfortunately, onions aren't immune to pests and diseases. But don't worry, with a bit of vigilance and know-how, you can keep those problems at bay. Keep an eye out for any signs of trouble, like yellowing leaves, stunted growth, or holes in the foliage. If you spot anything suspicious, identify the culprit and take action quickly. There are lots of natural remedies you can use to deter pests, like companion planting with herbs like rosemary and thyme. And you can use insecticidal soap or neem oil to deal with any infestations. For diseases, prevention is key. Make sure you're not overwatering, and rotate your crops each year to prevent the buildup of soil-borne diseases. And if all else fails, there are always fungicides and pesticides available, but always use them as a last resort. Mulch, it's like a magic blanket for your soil. It keeps the moisture in, suppresses weeds, and even helps regulate soil temperature. For onions, a good layer of mulch is like giving them a VIP upgrade. There are loads of different types of mulch you can use: straw, wood chips, shredded bark, even grass clippings. Just make sure you apply it after the soil is warmed up in the spring. Spread a good couple of inches of mulch around the base of your onion plants, being careful not to pile it up against the stems. This will create a nice protective barrier that will keep those onions happy and healthy. And the best part? As the mulch breaks down, it adds even more organic matter to your soil, making it even more fertile for future crops. It's a win-win. Companion planting. It's like creating a little neighborhood of happy plants. Certain plants, when grown together, can actually help each other out. They can deter pests, attract beneficial insects, and even improve growth. For onions, there are a few great companion planting options. Carrots, for example, help deter onion flies, while chamomile can actually improve the flavor of your onions. Summer savory is another great one, as it repels bean beetles, which can also be a problem for onions. And if you're growing tomatoes, planting some basil nearby can help keep both plants healthy and pest-free. So, get creative with your planting. Experiment with different combinations and see what works best in your garden. Now, for the moment we've all been waiting for harvest time. Knowing when your onions are ready to be picked is all about observation. Keep an eye on those tops. When they start to yellow and flop over, that's your cue that those onions are ready to come out of the ground. Gently loosen the soil around the base of the onions with a fork and carefully lift them out. If the weather's dry, you can leave them on the surface of the soil for a few days to dry out a bit. If it's wet, you can bring them inside to a well-ventilated area to dry. Once they're cured, you can trim off the tops and store them in a cool, dark place. And there you have it, a bumper crop of homegrown onions, ready to add flavor to all your culinary creations. So there you have it, my top tips for growing onions that are going to blow your socks off. Remember, choose the right variety, give them a good foundation, keep them watered and fed, and don't let those weeds get the upper hand. With a bit of love and attention, you'll be harvesting those big juicy onions in no time. And trust me, there's nothing quite like the taste of homegrown produce. So, get out there, get your hands dirty, and get growing. Happy gardening.